Sounds good.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending our Parent Tech Night tonight. We will be focusing on secondary schools, but if you're an elementary and secondary parent, we'll have information, a little information on both levels for you. My name is Sarah Monnier-White. I'm the Director of Technology here in Chippewa Valley Schools, and we are so excited to be beginning to roll out our official one-to-one program and very excited to have you here so we can share some information on what to expect as your students start to get those laptops to take home. With me tonight, I have an amazing instructional team. These four ladies will be leading the support of laptops in the classroom, working with our teachers and our students to make sure they're used in ways that support curriculum and support learning and help you with all the little technicalities along the way. So these ladies will be leading our presentation this evening, and I'll let them present themselves, introduce themselves as we go. So before we jump into the technical end of some of our programs, tonight our agenda, we'll just talk a little bit about the logistics of one-to-one, how students will receive laptops, what that'll look like. We'll review some main points of our handbook with you. We're going to tell you about a very exciting new program called ClassLink. We'll review some of our old standard district programs you've seen before, including the parent portal and how you can get help with these laptops. So to start, I'll just go over some logistics, give you a little background on our one-to-one program. So as much as we don't always like to look back on 2020, there are some silver linings, and one of those is our one-to-one program that we're rolling out in Chippewa Valley. So we knew when COVID hit and schools first went remote in March of 2020, we did not have enough laptops to be able to supply one to each student. We had never been a one-to-one district. It wasn't something we could financially sustain. We did collect every laptop that we own district-wide to check out to students. And about this time last year, at the end of August, when it was decided that school would stay remote at the beginning of the school year, the school board voted to buy 3,000 more laptops so we would have additional to provide our students. As time moved on and COVID unfortunately wasn't getting better, the board did vote to purchase another 9,300 laptops, which would be enough to take us one-to-one throughout the district, meaning we would be able to provide every student grades K-12 with their own individually assigned laptop to use. However, with COVID and supply chain delays and chip delays, those computers, even the first 3,000 we ordered, were pretty long lead times. Our first shipments arrived just before Thanksgiving, and we were able to process those and start giving them out at the end of November. But the second round, those 9,000 computers, didn't even arrive on site until March. So last year, one-to-one wasn't as complete as we wanted it to be. We're happy we had more computers to provide as needed, but we were never able to get to that one laptop per child before the end of the year. So we are so excited this year to be rolling out one-to-one really full in full terms, and we've spent the last year planning and doing things on the technical, on the back end to make sure they're great devices for our students. So if you have an elementary student, a student in grades K through 5, these will be a cart-based program. We do not anticipate students using these laptops in class every single day or being sent home every day. Each child in those grades will be assigned an individual laptop, but they'll only bring them home on days when the teacher says, hey, I would like you to use your laptops at home today. They'll be available to use in class at the teacher's discretion and take home as needed. So it won't be a daily back and forth. For our secondary students in grades 6 through 12 at any of our middle or high schools, those students will take their laptops to and from school daily with a 6-hour schedule alternating between different classes throughout the day. That simply ensures they'll have a device and they'll have their personalized device anytime it's needed. That doesn't mean they'll use it in every class every day. Students will be responsible for bringing those back and forth. They will be provided with a case, and they will be responsible for charging those each night. The laptops in grades 6 through 12 are brand new laptops. They have a battery warranty as well as an accidental warranty. So if a battery's bad, we can get that fixed, but students need to charge it nightly and bring it to school charged the next day. How and when students receive those laptops will vary by building. Our first laptops were distributed today at registration days at the Dakota 9th Grade Center. Each high school will have different registration days, and middle schools will be waiting till the first week of school to distribute those to students. For students involved in CVVA, those will most of those will happen before school starts so that students have their laptops for the first day of school on September 7th. Another thing that we've looked at as we prepare for one-to-one is we have reset all student passwords district-wide to prepare for this fall. So if you have a secondary student, when they pick up their laptop, your student will receive a sheet of paper that has their new password on it, as well as information on how to change the password if needed. K-5 families, we will secure message you that information, and it will come home September 2nd or 3rd. You'll receive an email via school messenger with your student's individual login information. Elementary students are not set to change their password unless they work through our department. They can't self-change them if they don't like their password. At the high school, those resets actually started yesterday, and again, the information is provided as they pick up their laptops. And I apologize, I think I already said some of this. Again, at the middle school, we are going to reset those passwords on the 1st, and if you received an email, I think we originally said the 8th, but to accommodate our CVVA students, we are going to move that to the 1st. And again, as students pick up their laptop, they will receive the new login information. Another thing that we've done that is exclusive to our secondary students is ask them to accept our acceptable use policy electronically. So beginning today, the first time a student logs onto that one-to-one laptop, they will be given the opportunity to fully read the acceptable use policy, and they will need to accept that policy. If a student clicks decline after reviewing that policy, their laptop options will be limited. They will not be able to download apps. They will not receive all the apps that we send to most computers. They will not have the full internet access because they haven't agreed to the policies on using that laptop. If a student does that accidentally, to get it fixed, we'll have to go through the student help desk system, which is something we'll review later in this presentation. And it could take a couple days. We do anticipate there'll be a lot of questions and tickets at the beginning of the year. So we'd really encourage you to just talk to your child, review the AUP with them, which we'll be going over in detail tonight, and make sure that they understand it and that they understand they should accept that agreement so they have full use of their laptop from the first day they pick it up. So that's some of the logistics, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Amy Yednock, who is one of our district instructional coordinators, instructional technology coordinators. She will be talking to you about our handbook and acceptable use policy tonight.
Thanks, Sarah. So as we move towards one-to-one, we realized that we really wanted to have an organized way to present information, something that you would be able to refer to for any questions that you had. So we've been working through, since we decided to go one-to-one, on our Chippewa Valley Technology Handbook. That handbook will be available online on our website. It is also housed with some student resources that we put together that we're also going to show you tonight. But we want it to be very accessible so that you'll be able to refer back to that whenever you need it. So there are different parts to the handbook. Sarah, if you can go to the next slide. that cover everything we could think of. Our mission and purpose. Obviously, we are super excited about one-to-one because we really feel like this will give students the opportunity to have that technology when they need it. The best thing for me that came out of last year, I know it was rough for a lot of different reasons, but this is amazing opportunity for the students. So the handbook also covers the acceptable use policies, which I'll discuss a little bit further in a second. Digital citizenship, because we really want to start working with students on making sure that they understand how to be good digital citizens, their responsibilities, how to care for the laptop, and then other forms that they might need. And we also included a frequently asked questions section that we're going to constantly maintain. So as more questions come up about one-to-one and how things work, we will add to the frequently asked questions section as well. So Sarah mentioned the AUP and having students sign it. The acceptable use policy is basically all of the expectations that we want students to be able to agree to, things that we want them to understand are necessary in order to safely use their laptops. As Sarah mentioned, they'll digitally accept that. Also, when they are getting their laptops in high school, they're also going to get, you're going to get a paper copy of that, which they're also going to sign. We also have activities that we have come up with for students that teachers are going to work through with them. So things like a sheet that they're going to go through, asking questions, just making sure that the students understand the acceptable use policy, because we don't really want them to sign something that they don't understand. And we did work very hard over the past year to edit them. The last AUP that we had in place wasn't exactly student friendly, which was okay at the time because they didn't really have as much access to technology. Sarah, if you can go to the next one. We have screenshots in here that you probably can't even read, but basically instead of language that they don't really understand, we tried to really simplify the AUP, especially for grades 1 through 5. So some of them are, I will only use programs that my teacher has approved. I will only use the computer for schoolwork. I won't remove barcodes or things like that. And we really tried to work through it and make sure that it covered things that we want students to understand are what is necessary to keep them safe and to keep our technology ready to use. And then we also, in the handbook, covered digital citizenship. As I said, we're going to be working, especially over the next few years, at really helping students understand what it means to be a good digital citizen. So we are working through a lot of those courses and programs that we can provide for them, where they can work through different activities that will help them understand how to be good digital citizens. We also included some just tips for parents and guardians. This actually comes from Common Sense Media, which is a great website. Basically just saying if you allow them to only use it in a common room or designate some time together, things that parents are probably doing anyway. We just thought it would be a great way to kind of incorporate that into the handbook and make sure we kind of went through all of those things as well. Student responsibilities. This was the big one. Sarah mentioned a lot of them to you, but this is something I would really like to focus on. As Sarah mentioned, we'd like them to bring it every day fully charged. They're brand new laptops. It should maintain a charge throughout the day. A few people were concerned that maybe by the end of the day it wouldn't, but without doing, last year we were doing a lot of Teams, we were doing a lot of heavy media that kind of wore down the battery faster, but we really think that it'll be fine. And if we find that it's not, we could work through that and put in charging stations. But we don't want students to bring their chargers with them. They're not barcoded. If they left it behind, it would be impossible to figure out whose charger was who. So we'd like them to come fully charged every day. We figure if we make that the expectation, then students will get used to that, like they're used to bringing their textbooks with them. There will be a very limited number of loaners in the media center. So it'll happen. A student who's super responsible comes to school one day and realizes that their laptop case is at home on the kitchen table. They will be able to go down to the media center and check out a loaner laptop for the day. those numbers are limited just based on how many extra laptops that we even have available, and it will be limited. So buildings are talking through what that'll look like. So maybe 3 times a year, or whatever they decide is a reasonable number of times that could happen. But we really want students to be responsible and have these laptops at school every day fully charged. Also just, not using food around them, not adding stickers to them, because even though it's their laptop for that year and throughout their career, it's still Chippewa Valley property. So we really want to encourage them not to do any kind of personalizing, things like that. And again, we did develop things that the teachers will go through with them, courses that kind of go over all of these things so that it's really clear to students what the expectations are, so that they don't do things and then think that, I didn't know that was going to be a problem. And of course, once they read and understand the AUP, they'll be expected to follow that. We did also include some parent responsibilities, making sure that parents know exactly what they are agreeing to, making sure that they are, monitoring students' time online, and making sure that parents are involved, making sure that if there is damage to the laptop or something isn't working, that it's reported right away. We did put in there that you can't go to an outside company to fix the laptops. Because of our warranty, we really need our help desk, our technicians, to work on the laptop. So if something does happen, the student would bring it to the media center, which I'll talk about on the next slide. And we have a process for that. And then of course, if you do move out of the district, you would be expected to return the laptop. As far as damages and repairs, we know that things happen, and sometimes something happens where the laptop would get damaged. We did include in the handbook replacement costs in case it was lost, and various fees for different parts of the computer. What we do is, if the student brings it to the media center, they fill out a form, we take pictures, we send it over to our help desk who looks at it, and then they would determine what those fees should be. So once that's complete, you would be notified, and then it would be a fee that you would pay through Pay Schools. Obviously, if it's something where there's repeated fees, then we would have to talk about that further. It could even result in the inability to continue to check out a laptop, but hopefully students, we think we're going to do a very good job of making sure that they understand the responsibility of this. So, things happen. It would have to be worked through at a building level. We know that there are going to be situations that it's not the child's fault that something happened to it, and we could work through all of those things. But just making sure that, if there is something going on with a laptop, that they do notify the media staff, and we can take it from there. Let's see. Caring for your device, we have all of this included. I won't go through all of it. We have Microsoft OneDrive, which Jessica is going to talk about in a little bit, so students can save all of their work to the cloud. Printing, we're not going to connect our school printers to these laptops. We're really going to try to make sure that a lot of the submissions from now on are digital, just to save some trees, and it's just a lot easier as well. But if there are some times where students need to print, they will be able to do that from the school media center computers, and then they can also install a home printer if they would like to, so they can print at home. And then we also covered, let's see, internet connectivity. They'll be able to connect obviously to our CVS Wi-Fi. They are configured already to connect to the wireless connection. And we also included in the handbook directions for connecting to your wireless at home in case they have trouble. And then obviously, because it's a district laptop, they should not be downloading personal software, and obviously should be very careful about malicious software and anything that might damage the computer. Inspection, the handbook also covers making sure that for security reasons, students should know that there is no expectation of confidentiality. So things that they do on their student laptop, we might see teachers, school administrators, the technology department can ask to see what's on their computer at any time, because we do want to make sure that they're being safe. So that's just a little bit about how they might need to provide that at some point, or if there's a situation, they would be able to give us their laptop to be able to look at. Caring for the laptop, we talked about most of this already. Obviously, being careful about food and liquids, not spraying cleaner directly on the screen, making sure to power it down and store it carefully when they're transporting it, not leaving it in unsupervised areas, making sure that it's with them at all times so it doesn't get lost, and making sure that they're not peeling off the barcode, adding extra stickers, things that we've already talked about. Oh, and then the last section of the handbook, or one of the last sections of the handbook, is where to get help. And Dawn is going to talk about this in a little bit too, but just troubleshooting tips. We're going to have a lot of that we provide for them, that we've been working on, so that students will know where to go if they do need help with a program. We have a technology course that we have put in Schoology that we created a lot of resources for students that will help them if they run into questions, both with the technology and the handbook, and if they need to find a form. So that will be available to students as well this year. We also included in the handbook where to find Wi-Fi for free, and a program that helps find affordable Wi-Fi for everyone. So it's everyone on. If you go to that website and put in your zip code, it shows you a bunch of different options if you're looking for affordable Wi-Fi. And then finally, this paper that you see, we created to go home with all of the laptops. So once you do go to Cougar Days or Big Red Check-In and your student brings home the laptop, this paper has a ton of information, kind of goes over some of the things we've been talking about. There is a form, QR code to a form. So if your student brings home their laptop and you think there's something that's just not right about it already, that you want to make sure we're aware of, there's a form to fill out and return to the school so that we can make sure that we're aware of anything that was pre-existing, because I know that would be a concern. There's also a link to the handbook that I've been referring to, a link to our parent technology newsletter. So just a bunch of resources that will come home with their laptop that will help them go through all of the things we've been talking about. And now I believe Jessica, one of the other instructional technology coordinators, is going to talk to you about our new program.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Amy. I'm Jessica Thole, and I'm going to walk you through a new program we have this year called ClassLink, as well as a quick review of some of our district programs that students will be utilizing throughout the school year. So ClassLink is a single sign-on program that allows students to log in once just to ClassLink and then be able to instantly launch district programs and websites with no additional login required. So gone is the day that we must remember all of the logins and passwords for individual sites and programs. Signing into ClassLink will automatically sign students into many of our main programs. Another benefit is teachers can also add links to websites that are specific for their class, which will give their students easy access off of their ClassLink dashboard. ClassLink is web-based, which means that ClassLink for our district can be accessed from any computer. Students can sign in and access their student dashboard from any computer that they might be using if for some reason they aren't on their district provided laptop. Sarah, can you go to the next slide for me? Thank you. One of the benefits of this new program is for our littlest students, some of those who might have a hard time recognizing numbers and letters, specifically our kindergartners and first graders. They will be able to log into ClassLink using a quick card. So you can see it there. It has a QR code on it. And this card will just be held up to the laptop camera and it'll log them into both the computer as well as ClassLink so that they can access their programs without having to try and type in their student ID and password. Some district programs that students and teachers will be utilizing this year. Go through a few of those. Office 365 is a program that we have used in the past and will continue to use this year. You can access it now through the ClassLink dashboard. So students would log into ClassLink and be able to click on Office 365 and have access to all the programs involved. One of those is OneDrive, which is an online storage area. So we recommend and urge students to do all of their saving and file sharing through their OneDrive. Office 365 also offers online versions of Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and Outlook, and it integrates really easily with Schoology, which is another program that we will go over in just a few minutes here. Outlook, most specifically within the Office 365 program, is where students will have access to their email. So if they need to correspond with teachers or other students, that's the best place to go. Elementary students also have access to email, but they can only send and receive from teachers and students that have the CVS domain for their email, so other teachers and students within the district. For families that need would like to download Microsoft Office at home, a student can log into their Office account and go to all the way over to the right of the screen and click Install Office, and that will allow them to download the desktop versions of the Microsoft Office programs. So that can be done if needed at home or on a different computer. Schoology is also still around. It was our learning management system that we adopted when we entered the pandemic and had, the balance of virtual learning as well as in-person learning. Schoology is still going to be utilized to deliver content by some teachers. Even in-person teachers some are going to opt to still deliver content through Schoology. CVVA classes will also be using Schoology to deliver content, but students will access their Schoology account through ClassLink. So again, they'll log into ClassLink, click on the Schoology icon, and they'll be logged directly into Schoology. It allows for two-way interaction. They can submit work and receive feedback, and allows students to interact online safely. If you are a parent that would like to create an account, you can that would give you access to the classes that your child is enrolled in Schoology, any upcoming assignments, school and class announcements, things like that. Schoology makes it easy for parents to stay involved because you can create a parent account and view your child's Schoology account from their perspective. You will need a 12-digit code to link up your parent account with your student's account, which you can access from your student's school. I know every school is doing it a little differently, but for example, Seneca is exporting all of their student access codes and sending them out automatically to parents. So if that is not something that your child's school is doing, then you can contact your student's school and see if you can if they can get you that 12-digit code. On the next slide, I am going to go over the basic steps of setting up a parent account. If you would like to do this and want these steps in writing, they are available on our CVS website under the For Parents page, so you can get these steps again. But you would just go to Schoology.com and create a new parent account, and then it's going to prompt you to put in that 12-digit access code that you'd receive from your child's school. And then you'd fill out the appropriate information and register, and it will link you up automatically with your student's account. So when you have a parent account, it's actually like having your own personal parent account, but then also having your child activity view. So you'll be able to log into Schoology and see it from your child's perspective, but also for your own account, set up your own different types of settings so that you can get the most out of that account and be able to adjust what kind of notifications you're going to get. So if you have a parent account and you log in, you can click on the arrow next to your name in the top right corner, and you can toggle between your own parent account as well as the student view of whatever child you are linked up with. You can also add multiple children. So if you have more than one child in the district, as long as you have their access code, you can link as many children there and then toggle between their views. Believe the next slide will show you. This is what it looks like as a student. So this is actually Amy's daughter, Riley, a screenshot of what it would look like if Amy had a parent account and was viewing Riley's Schoology. So she can see right off the bat that Riley received an incomplete for an assignment, or that she failed to turn something in or something was late. So it's a nice way of keeping track of that for a student. Teams is also a program that is going to still be around this year. It was utilized much more last year because of being virtual versus in person. It's accessed through Office 365, which again is accessed through ClassLink. It integrates easily with Schoology, and CVVA actually will be using Teams regularly because that's how their classes will meet. The teacher will post a Teams link in their Schoology page, and students will be able to access it there. In the case of a quarantined student, Teams will also be utilized so that the classes that they are missing will be streamed through Teams, and students at home will be able to access those streamed classes. There are support documents for all of the programs I've mentioned within the Schoology Rock Your Technology course that Amy mentioned. Every student's going to have that course available to them in Schoology, and they can go there and see all sorts of help documents and things in regards to these programs that we've been going over. I am going to hand off to Dawn Barrett, one of my fellow instructional technology coordinators. She's going to go over Parent Portal as well as how to access help when you need it.
Good evening, everybody. I am Dawn Barrett. Parent Portal is not something that is new to our district. As a reminder, though, it is where you can access your child's grades, their current course schedule, attendance, and things like that. You can go to the next slide, Sarah. If you have an account and you can't remember how to get to it, you can always go to our Chippewa Valley Schools webpage, and there are links in the For Parents page to access Parent Portal. If you have not yet set up your Parent Portal account, there is an additional tab that walks you through those steps on how to set up your account. Once you have your account set up, you would either go to that website if you have it bookmarked, or you just click back on that Chippewa Valley page, and you would log in with the username and password that you have set up. If for some reason your username and password is not working, the place to go to get help with that would be to your child's school. The office staff there can help you with that account. You do want to make sure that when you are in PowerSchool that you have updated your preferences, especially your email address. Updating that email address will help if you ever have to fill out, or your student has to fill out a help desk ticket, because that is the email that will be responded to within that system. So you need to make sure that you update your preferences with a valid email address. And it's how you can receive communication. I cannot even see this. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, yep. This is again with the return to school. We want to make sure that the information that you're getting there in the parent tech night and the calendar and all of those information there will be available through that as well. Sorry about that. If you are at home with your student and you want to go to the next slide, Sarah? Is there something I missed there? I'm sorry. Are in need of getting help with district technology. The first line of defense while your student is at school is to contact the media center. specialist. There will be specific hours that they will be able to go down to the Media Center to get help with any issues that they're having. The Media Center specialist, if they cannot help them, will then help them fill out a help desk ticket. But if they are at home, there are some parent resources that are available to them through and the Schoology site that we talked about. And then in addition to that, you have your student help desk ticket that you can fill out outside of school hours. Please be aware that this is not monitored 24 hours a day. It is available to be accessed 24 hours a day by you to fill out, but they will respond as quickly as they possibly can within the time frame of their hours. When you put in a help desk ticket, you need, again, to make sure that you have your email updated. They will respond within the system, which you should get an email about that response. So you need to make sure that you're monitoring that email to look for a response about how to get help in addition to that for your student. And again, that is the website which they would go to. So they're active from 7 to 4, Monday through Friday, but you can, again, as I mentioned, you can submit tickets 24 hours a day. They can get help with logins and issues with district programs or problems with district checkout devices. We cannot have, our district help desk will not help with home internet issues or with other personal devices that were not issued by our district. And hopefully you have been receiving our parent technology newsletters. There have been 4 issues that have gone out that have been going to your inbox throughout the summer. They are also uploaded on the CVS website, and we will be sending out a few more throughout the rest of the summer. But they have some very helpful information and some just snippets of things that we've gone over today, in addition to some other useful tidbits about what's happening throughout the school year this year. So at this time, what we're going to do is open up for questions.
Thank you, everybody, for all of that information. We just opened up the Q&A chat box. You should see it off to the right, I believe. And if you have any questions or there are topics you need some more excuse me, information on, would like us to explain, please feel free to pop them in that chat, and we would be happy to try to address those.
Maybe we covered everything so well they don't have any questions. We are also going to post the video from today, a recording of this, and the presentation on our website. So if you feel like we went through things really fast, or you just want to go back and remind yourself of something we talked about, it will also be under For Parents on the website as soon as we can get that published.
Amy, if you don't mind, I'll throw the first question at you. Someone's asking if this will be the same information at the elementary tech night we have scheduled in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so really the only difference and the reason why we did 6-12 versus K-5 is that it is a little different. And Sarah did talk about in the beginning of our presentation how K-5 is going to be more cart-based, where students won't be taking them home every single night unless the teacher has a special project or really wants them to take them home. But all of the logistics as far as what we went through with the handbook and things like that will be very similar. So we did touch on a lot of the elementary things that we are going to talk about. So if you do have an elementary and a secondary student, unless you have specific questions about the difference, you maybe could just do tonight and not have to redo it in September.
Thank you. Another question that came up was about using a personal computer at home. We do encourage students to use a district device while at school. We know how that's filtered and how it connects to our internet. There are some limitations on devices that are not network managed. But at home, absolutely, your student can use any device they want. There are some limitations on like a Mac where some of our programs won't be fully functional or some features might not work. But I would say 95% of the programs are web-based and pretty device agnostic. So students can absolutely use a personal device at home. We have another question about a Schoology parent account. Jessica, do you maybe want to field this one? If they have an account from last year, do they need to create a new one?
Well, actually, that's a good question. I guess the question would go to you, Sarah, does the student access code change? I believe it does.
I don't believe it does, actually.
Okay.
No, I think my understanding is that unless we request for it to change because they need it to change, you would be able to access your Schoology account from last year and it will update. I think they need to worry about it.
Thanks, team.
Mm-hmm. And then somebody also asked about whether the passwords were going to change for PowerSchool, like the student password for PowerSchool. No, we didn't reset parent and student passwords for PowerSchool.
So those are separate from our district Active Directory logins. So those won't change with the computer logins. Another question that came up is about really bringing laptops back and forth. I'll maybe try and address both of these together. Will students be able to carry their backpacks? That's going to be a building policy. It will vary between buildings, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't been involved in those discussions. I know last year with locker use being limited, that was definitely something different. Students will be able to use lockers this year. The larger buildings may stagger kids a little bit, so there's not such crowds in locker spaces at the same time, but they will have locker use. So each individual building will determine backpack policies. The students do receive a case for the laptop, so even if they can't carry backpacks in the building they're in, it should be pretty easy to carry with the case. And just a kind of related question is someone expressed concern with bringing those back and forth to school daily. Again, we are providing a case. We are expecting students to use that case. It's really a nice case. It's pretty slim. It's not very bulky, but it is durable. So if we have the students using the cases and not, they need to behave responsibly and appropriately, but I think they will protect them really well. Let's see, what other questions do we have out there?
Somebody asked if students will have the same computer through middle and high school. So 6th grade students will receive their laptop and they will get the same one back for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So while they're at the middle school, they will receive the same laptop. We think that will be a good way for students to take some ownership of that. We also think it will be good because if, my daughter did a really great job of taking care of her laptop in 6th grade and maybe somebody else didn't, then she wouldn't end up with a laptop that somebody else had already damaged. So 6, 7, 8, they will have the same one. It gets a little bit more complicated to do that as they transition into high school. So in 9th grade, they would have a different laptop. And then also for 10, 12, because of the 9th grade center, it's just so hard to move all of those laptops over. So they would get the same one, 6, 7, 8, and then they would have a new one issued to them in 9th grade, and then the same one again for 10 through 12.
I see a few questions about PowerSchool. Someone asked about can you set up PowerSchool, one student from Wyandotte and one student from the IAM? Your parent PowerSchool login should have you connected to whoever your children are, and you should just be able to toggle back and forth between those students.
The only exception to that, Mrs. Barrett, sorry to jump in.
That's okay.
The IAM might be an exception to that though, because their PowerSchool is actually a separate server. So I do believe for the one, so any other district building is absolutely correct. You'll be able to toggle between students, but the IAM, you're probably going to need to make a second account because the IAM server is separate from the Chippewa Valley server.
You should not have to recreate a PowerSchool account every year as long as you have that same account. It's connected to you and your students. So someone asked about going from elementary to secondary. They don't have to change PowerSchool. Is that correct? But the IAM would be the one that would be different. And then there was another PowerSchool question about if PowerSchool is not working, do we contact the school or do a help ticket? The first line of defense is to contact the school. And if they're not able to address your issue, then they would be able to help you with that moving forward to be able to get to the help ticket.
Let's see, somebody asked if the laptops have webcams for if a student is sick at home and they can participate in the class. Yes, all laptops do have webcams. So if they are quarantined or home for whatever reason, they can still participate in the class. But the difference would be, it wouldn't really be if they're at home sick. So when they're streaming, it would be if they're quarantined or if they have to be home for like a medically homebound student. So it wouldn't necessarily be if they're like just sick at home that day and they didn't feel up to going into school. They really are trying to limit the streaming to quarantine cases. And then somebody else asked if the laptops already have Office 365 so the student can sign in. They do. So they have a link to Office 365 online. And they also have the Office Suite on them already. I'm just reading through them.
Okay, a couple other questions. Sorry, we're going in no particular order. I'm trying to group them by topic. So somebody's asking, can the laptops fit in a standard backpack? Yes, they can, but again, we would want to caution you. They are really pretty slim profile laptops, but we would want the students to be really careful about putting it in a laptop with say 2 or 3 textbooks, especially if the laptop's on the bottom. So they want to be careful with that. And again, they will be expected to use the cases. So that will help protect them. And the cases are slim enough that they will fit in a standard backpack. We are not we are not offering insurance for families to purchase on the laptops. I know there are districts that do that, and we didn't hear great things about those programs and what they covered. Will they have to carry books everywhere? That will vary by class. Some classes will have online materials available. Some classes will have traditional textbooks available. So just like textbooks have been in the past, teachers will set those expectations for their class and let students know if they need them daily or if it'll just be once in a while. How much storage do the laptops have? Wow, I do not remember that stat off the top of my head. Anybody? Anybody?
Ooh, I don't either, but your student will be hopefully storing all of the things that they save in OneDrive, so it won't take up very much storage. I wish I knew.
I can check it.
I might have one in my office.
Paperwork behind me someplace, but I will. We can double check on that. Does the case have a shoulder strap? I believe it does. I would have to pull one out to just double check that also. Let's see, it looks like there's another question about Cougar Days. And I'm going to speak as a former Cougar teacher. I don't think they have to stay the whole time. I think there's stations they work through and they get their schedule and they can find their locker. And I believe once they're done with getting what they need, they can leave. But I haven't been in Dakota for a few years, but I'm almost positive they don't have to stay the whole time. Well, I would like to thank all of you for coming tonight. We can hang out for a couple more minutes in case any other questions pop up. Again, we are very excited to be going one-to-one. It is something that in Chippewa Valley we hadn't planned, and some opportunities with ESSER funds and bond funds and juggling some priorities allowed us to plan for the next 5 years of laptops and then a refresh in 5 years. So we know we can financially support this program for at least 10 years without touching operational budget. So we're excited. We're excited to have the new instructional staff to support the laptops. So with that, we do have a couple other questions we'll maybe try to answer. But if you feel comfortable, thank you again for joining us, and thank you to Dawn and Amy and Jessica for presenting tonight. And we'll let you sign off, but we'll see what other questions pop up here.
Someone was asking about that. I am Wyandotte Power School. I just sent them my email address and let them know that I don't actually know how that works, but we will find out for you, and I can get y'all set up. If I spell my name right. It looks like we have exhausted our questions. I think I will go ahead and end this, and our contact information is available on the district website if you have questions. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great evening and have a great school year. Yeah, thanks everyone.